Thank you for attending the Cannabis Investor Webcast. We would like to thank our platinum sponsors, Med Cannabis Pharma Incorporated, Naturally Splendid Enterprises Limited, Cabinet Grow Incorporated, Medical Marijuana Incorporated, Lexaria Corporation, and Future World Incorporated. We would like for you to reserve the date of May 23rd through May 25th, 2016 for the Cannabis Publicly Traded Companies Investor Analyst and Media Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, that date is May 23rd through the 25th, 2016. The conference website is www.cannainvestorconference.com. Again, www.cannainvestorconference.com. Our next speaker is Stuart Titus, CEO, President, and Director of Medical Marijuana Incorporated.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Stuart Titus. I'm the President of General Hemp, LLC, as well as the President and CEO of Medical Marijuana, Inc. And our ticker symbol on the over-the-counter markets is MJNA. And our presentation today is on industrial hemp, botanical CBD, many benefits for mankind. Cannabis has been put on this earth for a very good reason. We have natural receptors within our bodies for cannabis compounds. Cannabis as a primary care option is gaining in popularity among professionals in the mainstream medical community. Industrial hemp should be returned to the American farmer. It is non-psychoactive. Hemp contains 80 to 100 different cannabinoids and over 400 beneficial compounds. We've all been conditioned to believe that cannabis is an evil substance, but this is not the case, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta's research has certainly shown that in his famous CNN Weeds specials. Hemp is a tremendous bioremediator. It cleans toxic soils. At Chernobyl, hemp was planted to accelerate the cleanup of the environmental damage that occurred. And it's interesting to note that many animal species are now thriving in the exclusion zone over at Chernobyl. Hemp uses significantly less water than other crops. It grows with minimal fertilizer and little to no pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, or agrochemicals. Research on the human genome shows that only 10% of all disease is inherited from our parents or our ancestors, and 90% of all disease comes from environmental factors. This was very interesting research that the scientists doing this work on the human genome were very surprised because they had expected to find at least 50% of all disease to be inherited, and we find that to not be the case. Thus, a clean, toxin-free environment can improve overall health and wellness, and imagine what hemp can do for you if you made it part of your health regimen. So to get started, I'd like to just go over a few basics, what we might call ground rules, because it's baseball season. I know the Dodgers are in line for a good playoff position. And so to review the difference between hemp and marijuana, hemp, as shown here, grows very tall and lengthy, and it generally has a relatively high concentration of CBD, or cannabidiol, which is non-psychoactive, and around the world it is mostly grown for fiber and used in textiles. On the other hand, marijuana is generally short and bushy. It contains a high concentration of THC, which is psychoactive, and that's a cannabinoid, and around the world it's grown for the psychoactive effect. Further, if hemp is, cannabis rather, is considered the parent plant, then hemp and marijuana might be considered the children. Both cannabinoids that we're looking at here, CBD and THC, have medicinal value, as do all the other cannabinoids. And many interesting research articles and research papers are going on at the moment at many universities around the world. The U.S. government has a patent on the therapeutic use of cannabinoids. It's titled 507 patent, or cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. The patent number technically is 6630507. And the research that was done by Dr. Julius Axelrod and group, and Dr. Axelrod was a Nobel Prize laureate, says that the cannabinoids are found to have particular application as neuroprotectants in the treatments of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc. Non-psychoactive cannabinoids such as cannabidiol are particularly advantageous to use. We have a slide here, the entourage effect, and I have a nice little YouTube video which really helps to describe this a little bit. So let's see if I can't play that for you.
Let's talk about marijuana in your brain. It's a rather complicated process, so let's start off with what's familiar to you. THC. THC is a chemical in weed that gets you high, feel lightheaded, feel giddy, sometimes relax. Marijuana, you can smoke it, you can eat it, in an extract of seeds, you can chew it, vapor pen, or consume it in an oil form. Especially good for little kids who are taking it as medicine. No matter the method, THC goes through your bloodstream into your brain. And there, the THC will latch onto these special receptors. And they are stimulated to release dopamine. It sends signals to various nerve cells all around your body and makes the user feel high. Not all cannabis is going to get you stoned. That's because marijuana contains another chemical known as CBD. That's cannabidiol. Marijuana plants that have low THC and high CBD can work really well as a medicine. They can treat epilepsy. It works because the CBD chemical applies excessive electrical and chemical activity in the brain. I know this 3-year-old girl who went from having 300 seizures a week to 2 per month after her parents gave her cannabis with high levels of CBD. When it comes to marijuana, there's some 500 different chemical compounds. All these compounds work together. It's something known as the entourage effect. It's important because you can't just take a chemical out of marijuana and make a medicine. You need the whole plant, especially when it comes to using pot instead of pills.
Well, hopefully that has given you a good description of the entourage effect, which is a very interesting concept in natural botanical plants, and particularly advantageous when it comes to marijuana, hemp, and the interaction between all the chemicals. The whole plant extract has far greater effect than the effect of individual component extraction, aka active pharmaceutical ingredients. So the whole plant extract is really what gets a tremendous benefit for patients. The whole plant extract has the ability to affect multiple targets within the body, improve absorption of active ingredients, overcome defense mechanisms, and minimize side effects. Synthetically developed marijuana, like drugs, actually are FDA approved and scheduled as 2 in the case of Sesamet and Navalone, or Schedule 3 for Marinol or Dronabinol. Yet a natural plant containing natural botanical substances are somehow considered a Schedule 1 federally controlled substance. Obviously, this has to change. Now, I have another slide here, the endocannabinoid system, and Dr. David Allen has a tremendous presentation that I'd like to be able to play for you and show his wonderful
Hello, my name is Dr. David Allen. I'm a retired cardiac surgeon and a member of the International Cannabinoid Research Society, ICRS. That means I'm a cannabinoid research scientist. And I'm here to tell you about the discovery of the endocannabinoid system, ECS, and the significance and how it will change medicine. And we discovered the endocannabinoid system about 30 years ago. We really didn't understand the significance of its discovery. And so we found out that this is a chemical communication that your body has. It's not electrical, it's chemical. And it's kind of like the hormone systems that people are familiar with. And your body makes these cannabinoids. They're endogenous, so they're endocannabinoids. And they perform some miraculous functions in the body, and we're just learning the significance of these functions. And basically, the endocannabinoid system is responsible for homeostasis. Most people don't understand what that really means, but it's the body's ability to maintain itself and function in the proper environment. And so it's critically important that that doctors in the future understand this control mechanism. And we're finding out that that manipulation of this endocannabinoid system will control diabetes. It controls cancer. It controls whether you can survive a heart attack or stroke. And so this is critically important for doctors to understand this new science. And the discovery of the endocannabinoid system is the single most important medical scientific discovery ever, and will save more lives than the discovery and application of sterile surgical technique. And I'm a heart surgeon saying that. So more people will be saved by manipulation of the endocannabinoid system than are currently saved by surgery. And so we found out there's studies that if you use cannabis for 20 years or more, just smoking cannabis, that it decreases the incidence of diabetes by 66%. There are studies that show when they specifically stress beta cells of the pancreas to try to kill them by oxidative techniques, that if you use cannabinoids, it protects the cells from this oxidation. And so really what this means is you can use cannabis and decrease the incidence of diabetes by 66% or more, maybe if you use it other ways, if you eat it. And your doctor currently can't give you any medicine at all that decreases the incidence of diabetes by even 2%. So this is a miracle that cannabis does this, and it means that your use of cannabis will protect the beta cells of your pancreas from oxidation. That means basically all cannabis use is medical, regardless of whether you understand the science behind it.
Again, the endocannabinoid system performs some miraculous functions within the human body. The discovery of the endocannabinoid system is the single most scientific and medical discovery ever, and manipulation of the endocannabinoid system will save more lives than will be saved by surgery. And this is a retired cardiac surgeon mentioning this. Sad to note that given the discovery of the endocannabinoid system in the mid-1980s, only 1 in 7 medical schools today even mentions this, much less teaches doctors anything about the endocannabinoid system. Dr. Raphael McCullum, an Israeli researcher better known as the grandfather of cannabis research, was the first to isolate the THC molecule back in 1964. Dr. McCullum mentions that perhaps 40% of all pharmaceutical medications may be made obsolete with the further research and clinical development of cannabis and cannabinoid-based medications. And again, Dr. Allen mentions that all use of cannabis is medicinal. A key drug abuse expert has come out publicly stating that CBD is safe and may have therapeutic value for a number of medical conditions, giving ammunition to advocates in favor of rescheduling or descheduling cannabis, of course that includes industrial hemp, and bolstering businesses focused on cannabidiol. Nora Volkow, director of the U.S. National Institute on Drug Abuse, made the comments in an editorial published by the Huffington Post. She said her group will address the prior research barriers as well as expedite progress into this potentially valuable compound as well as other components of the marijuana plant. And she added that CBD especially may be poised to make great inroads into our pharmacopoeia. Our bodies have built-in receptors for cannabinoids found in both the brain, which is the CB1 receptor, and the viscera, the internal organs of the body, the CB2 receptor. The human body produces natural cannabinoids called endocannabinoids, and plant-based cannabinoids can potentially supplement the endocannabinoid system or the body's lack of natural production. These phytocannabinoids are potentially essential nutrients that are required in our diets for optimal health. And cannabinoids can be found in various plants besides cannabis, and such plants are flax, hops, and echinacea. Dr. Ethan Russo postulated this clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome, and Dr. Russo heads the International Cannabinoid Research Society, the ICRS. His theory was that if a patient was cannabinoid deficient, one would potentially experience numerous health challenges, including migraine headache, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, and other treatment-resistant conditions. This was published in the Neuroendocrinology letter, and follow-through from this research may lead to a future recommended daily allowance of plant-based phytocannabinoids as they seem potentially essential for optimal health. Current legislation that's going on, medical marijuana in the U.S. is legal in 23 states, including the District of Columbia. Recreational marijuana laws have been passed in 4 states, including Washington, D.C. 17 U.S. states have CBD-only laws, and many states, 26 actually, have passed state-level legislation allowing farmers to grow hemp once federal restrictions are lifted. Research crops of hemp have been planted this year in the U.S. with harvest expected this fall, and recently I was at a nice presentation the Hemp Industries Association out in Lexington, Kentucky, and University of Kentucky had a nice hemp crop that we were able to see. Prior court rulings favoring hemp food products in America. Important to note this, that in the late 1990s, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency tried to outlaw all hemp food products from entering America, as Canadian hemp seed and hemp oil products were gaining popularity with many health enthusiasts. The DEA claimed that these hemp products contain trace amounts of THC and other potentially dangerous cannabinoids. So the Hemp Industries Association wound up taking the DEA to court to allow hemp food products that did contain these trace amounts of psychoactive cannabinoid THC into America. And in the end, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit ruled in favor of the HIA, and today hemp seed, hemp oil, and hemp protein powder are readily found on health food store shelves here in the U.S. Well, that kind of concludes our basic ground rules, and now let's move along with hemp history. The first uses of cannabis and various preparations date back to ancient China and their initial health and wellness practices. Hemp was America's first crop, arriving here by early European settlers in the early 1600s, and it used to be illegal for a U.S. farmer not to grow hemp. One used to be able to pay their taxes with hemp. It was as good as any paper currency in terms of value in early America. Old-time cannabis preparations are shown here in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, and these preparations existed from about 1850 till 1940 or so, and treatments were for the number of conditions shown here: neuralgia, tetanus, typhus, cholera, etc. As we previously mentioned, we have cannabinoid receptors, CB1 in the brain, CB2 is mostly in the internal organs, and the human body usually only produces significant endocannabinoids when undergoing extreme aerobic exercise along with endorphins. So it's been postulated that the runner's high is actually a release of these natural endocannabinoids. And it's also interesting to note that mother's breast milk contains endocannabinoids. So hemp has a number of industrial uses, and the most important thing we really think is that it is a sustainable and renewable crop. Including some of the uses would be biomass for biofuels, textiles, building and construction materials, bioplastics that would actually biodegrade when placed in landfills, food and nutrition are many of these significant industrial applications. Hemp can provide numerous benefits for the American economy, potentially adding percentage points back to our nation's GDP and bringing back to America agricultural practices and economic benefits that are sustainable and renewable. Hemp-based biofuels, we mentioned that the biomass can be used to fuel electrical generation power plants In Brazil, they use the sugarcane crop to produce ethanol for gasoline, but this has some inherent environmental toxins. Hemp can provide clean energy that is fully carbon negative, and hemp can provide a similar or greater biomass than sugarcane. The nice thing is, in many southern climates, that you can get several crops per year. It takes about 90 to 120 days to grow a hemp crop, and potentially 3 to 4 crops per year are possible, where with sugarcane it is 1 crop per year. Overall, this reduces dependence upon petroleum-based fossil fuels. Hemp-based bioplastics, natural crop fibers are being used in Europe to produce car parts, such as door panels, dashboards, etc. Henry Ford originally developed a car made from intertwining hemp fibers. Interestingly enough, the car's body was far stronger than steel, but much lighter. And in the picture on the top left, you see a gentleman there taking an axe to the back of Henry Ford's original hemp car and not actually being able to dent the rear trunk. Hemp-based bioplastics may replace oil-based plastic water bottles, and obviously this is a tremendous environmental issue. Bioplastics offer biodegradable advantages to alleviate the current environmental problems afflicting many landfills, and I don't need to go on about telling about the Texas-sized area in the Pacific Ocean that is just an accumulation of all these terrible, harmful plastics. Hemp construction materials, hemp building materials are durable, non-toxic, and carbon negative. An average tree takes 20 years to grow. A hemp board can be harvested in 120 days, and we have a picture here in the top right of hemp concrete. And pictured below is a hemp home built in Asheville, North Carolina. The parents wanted to do all that they could for their daughter, who had multiple chemical sensitivities. And it's interesting to note that hemp is naturally antibacterial, antimicrobial, and antifungal, as well as an excellent insulator. Hemp textiles, the hemp fibers can be developed into quality clothes and textile products. The fashion industry ranks second, only behind the petroleum industry as the largest environmental polluters on the planet, per our friends at EcoWatch. Organic cotton, of course, is much more sustainable, but is considerably more expensive to grow, and only about 1% of all cotton is truly organic. Conventional cotton has a wholesome image, but it actually requires 10% of the world's agrochemicals, and most is GMO. So we feel that natural hemp textiles would be a far better environmental choice, and I think once consumers start wearing them, the fact that the hemp clothes feel terrific on your body, and the rest, I think that we'll be seeing quite a switch in some of our thinking here. Synthetic fibers like polyester and nylon are not biodegradable. Hemp food products. One can actually sustain life on hemp seed as it contains many essential nutrients. And these nutrients include essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, as well as immunoglobulins, which support the immune system. And hemp seed and oil will contain essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, SDA, GLA, and these are non-essential fatty acids. Alpha-linolenic acid is also present to a lesser degree. And we mentioned these immunoglobulins. Globulin is the third most abundant protein in the body, creates natural antibodies that protect the body from invading organisms. Gamma globulins combat cell-invading antigens, and these gamma globulins are created by the lymphatic system, where all invading toxins must pass before entering into the bloodstream. It's also interesting to note that hemp has tremendous electrical properties, and chemical engineers, including a Dr. David Midland of Clarkson University in New York, have found that hemp holds amazing electrical properties in both conducting electricity as well as in storing it, and its use in capacitors. Hemp is especially good as an electrical capacitor with potential benefit for hybrid autos as well as solar power. These all-natural, sustainable, renewable batteries may rival the best metals-based graphene batteries for energy storage, all at 1/100th the cost. Further on the electrical properties, hemp nanosheets can be made extremely electrically conductive for electricity, as the patent on carbon nanosheets mentions. Other batteries are metals-based, such as lithium-ion and graphene. The mining business is quite toxic to the environment. Interestingly enough, our brain functions primarily on electrical signals and activity. We routinely measure this in our medical society with our EEGs, or electroencephalograms. And CBD is helping many children with seizure disorders. And our question is this partly due to the beneficial electrical activity that hemp-based CBD may be able to provide? Two German scientists, Drs. Sackman and Nair, won a Nobel Prize for their research on cell membranes and low-level electrical activities within us. And basically their research shows that given the proper electrical charges between what's inside and outside the cell, that will allow for cells to take in nutrients as well as excrete waste products. And a lot of times we have trauma or other injuries to the body that prevent this natural functioning. So each cell within us has an electrical potential of about 70 millivolts, and you multiply that by 100 trillion cells, and again we pose the question whether an electrical component is involved with hemp-based products, including CBD, which may be fostering some of the anecdotal stories of healing. So a traditional view of synaptic activity, and the synapse is the gap, the space between various neurons, and the signal when the body wants to make a movement. A signal is sent down the nerve pathways that then gets translated into the muscle fibers, and we raise our arm or turn our head or what have you. But the traditional view of this is that only 2% of all neuronal communication occurs at the synapse, and this is the junction between the nerves. But 100% of all pharmaceutical activity in neuronal therapy targets this synapse. And it's no wonder that we have such poor results with traditional pharmaceuticals in relation to various neurological conditions, such as depression, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, ADD, etc., etc. So a new botanical or medication that may target the remaining 98% of all neuronal activity, plus provide for stem cell activity that can lead to neurogenesis or nerve cell regeneration, would be the ideal solution. And natural botanical hemp-based CBD may provide this particular solution, and our further research will tell the story. The old models of cell receptor activation, the 19th and 20th century, they looked at this receptor site activity as kind of like a lock and key. So it's a physical door lock that the correct size and shape were important characteristics for a ligand to be able to attach itself to a receptor site. Here, now in the 21st century, a new theory has emerged, and basically it's similar to an automobile door lock now, that we can open the automobile door with a clicker and frequency matching. And these characteristic frequencies may now be the target that really we're looking at as far as activating these receptor sites within the body. So the focus on the nerve and neurological health, we do this because the health and vitality of the nerves within the body controls the health and vitality of the body's muscular as well as skeletal systems. And of course, this is very important for longevity. The neuroprotective attributes of cannabinoids and CBD have been well researched, and the patent on the antioxidant and neuroprotective benefits is held by the U.S. government. Receptor site activity provides for healthy nerve function, and this receptor site activity is now considered to be activated by electrical and resonant frequency characteristics. So again, hemp-based CBD seems to be activating some of these receptors, which may help us to rewrite some of the potentially outdated medical textbooks. Again, the CBD is a tremendous antioxidant. It protects the body and the cells from oxidative stress and free radical damage. CBD is potentially the world's most potent antioxidant, has tremendous anti-aging benefits that are mentioned in the U.S. government patent, and presumably this is because of the improvement in the mitochondrial functioning within the cells of the body. Certainly the neuroprotective benefits have been mentioned. It protects, strengthens, and potentially regenerates nerves, which has a direct effect, again, on the muscular and skeletal system as well as the internal organs. And research, recent research from Israel even shows that CBD helps in the healing of broken and fractured bones. Here we have a picture, and we mentioned earlier about the number of chemical components that can be extracted from the hemp plant or the marijuana plant. And of course, this includes cellulose, waxes, fats, chlorophyll, terpenoids, flavonoids, some pigments, and of course your cannabinoids, and then the phosphoterpenes as well. Previously, we mentioned that hemp is antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, and there may be many medical applications can arise. With a significant number of hospital-borne infections, hemp may play a significant role here. Interesting to note that the original Dr. Scholl's foot pads were made from hemp. We're looking at now hemp-based Band-Aids, hemp-based gauze or surgical compresses, hemp-based hospital sheets, gowns, hospital-based scrubs, even tampons would be interesting to make just because they're considered medical devices, but with the antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal properties, we think it's quite significant. And even hemp-based surgical masks. On my travels to China, I was amazed half the population use these surgical masks because of all the pollution, and we'd love to have people with a hemp-based mask versus the cotton alternative. Earlier we mentioned about the bioremediation and how hemp was planted at Chernobyl to assist in the cleanup from the nuclear disaster back in 1986. But hemp can also save American farmland from toxicity. And interestingly enough, hemp actually increases the nutrient content of the soil after the harvest, thus saving the soil from further decline. Hemp may hold similar detox and cleanup benefits if incorporated into a daily diet. And since it adds valuable nutrients back to the soil, it may be adding some of these valuable trace nutrients back to the human consumer. Well, to recapitulate and summarize some of what's been talking about here, the medicinal side of cannabis, hemp, and marijuana is expanding exponentially. Once we have a sufficient number of farmers planting hemp, we will better understand the nutritional benefits of hemp seed, hemp oil, and hemp protein powder, as well as attain what are called economies of scale. And basically in economics, this just means we have enough of a certain commodity to allow for its optimal use in terms of industrialization. And already with significant industrial uses, given the entrepreneurial spirit of the American inventor, numerous other uses and industries will assuredly develop. The world is seeing the benefits of non-psychoactive cannabinoids, and recently Brazil has allowed natural botanical CBD products into their country for therapeutic use, involving patients with a condition known as refractory epilepsy. There are about 750,000 of these patients in Brazil, and Mexico seems next in line to allow these natural botanical CBD products in for a similar type situation with these young children with this unfortunate medical condition. Natural botanical hemp-based cannabinoid extracts may play a significant role in future health and wellness, and this represents an evolutionary quantum leap forward in human healthcare. Previously, we mentioned that Dr. McCoolin is the grandfather of cannabis research. He recently was featured on a documentary where he mentioned that each of us have a different internal endocannabinoid profile, and further that this profile, the combination of all our internal cannabinoids, may distinguish our individual personalities from one another. Very interesting to think about some of these great things that Dr. McCoolin has brought to the world. Natural botanical hemp-based CBD, due to the entourage effect, may allow for new therapeutic benefits for patients suffering with nerve-related disorders. And potentially this new cannabinoid therapy may open an entirely new door into the field of neurological medicine, with the potential for nerve regeneration or neurogenesis once thought impossible. Over time, research will tell if the essential phytocannabinoids are truly a necessary part of our dietary requirements, and soon a daily recommended daily allowance may be determined. Essential nutrients are termed essential because these nutrients need to come from our diets. They can't be synthesized by the body. And certain essential nutrients, such as essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, essential phytocannabinoids, can all be found within the hemp and marijuana plants. So please join us in welcoming hemp back home to the United States of America. And here's a website where you can potentially learn more. And here's a picture of some of our new products that are just coming out, our real scientific hemp oil products. So thank you all for listening to the presentation. I believe there might be a question-answer session. I'm glad to try to answer some questions if you have a few.
First question, if you had to describe your business model in one sentence, how would you describe it? I guess they're asking, you know, some of the questions I have here, are you guys an R&D clinical trials company or herbal supplement company? So if you had to describe your business model in one sentence, how would you describe it?
Certainly. Well, we are a portfolio of different companies with varying interests. We have 3 divisions that are in, actually sell nutraceutical hemp-based CBD products. So that's our Hemp Meds sales division, as well as Dixie Botanicals. And then the 3rd division is a multi-level marketing company called Cannabis. Beyond that, we also have 2 companies that are portfolio companies that are in pharmaceutical development. One is Canna Life Sciences, and the second one is Axum Biotechnologies. Canna Life actually has the right to use this U.S. government patent that I was talking about on the therapeutic use of cannabinoids. They have 2 indications. The first one is for a liver-brain disorder known as hepatic encephalopathy, and the second one is for traumatic brain injury, or CTE, as it's known. Of course, this is very prevalent among retired NFL football players, and we're very excited about the initial results we have with some of our preclinical work there. Our second biotech company, if you will, is Axum, and they're developing a medicated chewing gum that will be kind of a combination of 50% THC, 50% CBD. And this is initially going to be used over in Europe in clinical trials for multiple sclerosis patients, these MS patients that have pain and muscular spasticity. So we really are a diversified portfolio. When you buy us, you're not just, if you purchase our stock or become a shareholder, you get several different aspects of the overall cannabis business. And obviously, we're very passionate about all cannabinoids, and we're very much looking forward to the future legalization of THC and medicinal cannabis here in the United States.
So this question is kind of similar. I don't know how accurate this revenue number is here in the question. 2014 revenues of $14.5 million. Could you give a percentage breakdown of where those revenues came from? You know, what businesses, I guess? So what was the majority of that 14.5 from what business?
Right, so that really came from the sales of these nutraceutical products that we have on the market. Both our pharmaceutical development companies are basically early stage biotech companies. They're not producing revenues at this point in time. Obviously, they go through the FDA approval process here in the U.S. or the European version of that overseas, and we'll then have products for sale, and those divisions will be producing revenues, but that will be anywhere from 1 to 5 years down the road. So basically, at the moment, our revenues basically come from the sales of these various natural botanical hemp-based CBD products.
And so those products, Stuart, they don't need to go through like clinical trials and R&D. They don't need to go through that FDA process, right? It's sort of like, are they like herbals?
Yes, not necessarily, because they're natural botanical, more like say a dietary supplement or a nutraceutical product. Nonetheless, we certainly have all our products tested as far as any pesticides or residue or toxins such as heavy metals. We also provide a certificate of analysis that just gives a good breakdown as far as the cannabinoid content and other plant material. But yes, we're looking at obviously doing some clinical work so that we may actually be able to make certain claims that our product may be working for certain medical conditions, or it may be helping to assist with things such as heart, cardiovascular. Research will tell that, and we'll certainly look forward to keeping you updated as our research efforts move forward.
Okay, next question. Can RSHO be classified as a medicine now that Anvisa has anointed it as such?
Well, I would say that that's something that I think the jury is still out on that. It is being treated as such in Brazil with patients down there that actually the government has decided to pay for medication for those qualifying families, if you will, but we're not quite in the classification as a formal medicine yet. We've basically been looking at this situation, but at the moment we're considered in Brazil, I believe they call it a phytotherapeutica, or it's a plant-based and natural remedy that has shown benefit for one particular medical condition down there, and certainly it's been very encouraging to know that the government has acted so quickly to try to provide some relief for citizens of their country as well as the children. And it's nice to see that 17 U.S. states have these CBD-only laws as well.
Okay, this next question, Stuart, it's about, I guess, PPS, the price per share of MJNA. Does Stuart feel growing hemp could be in the future of the company, and what's the future plans to get the PPS up for MJNA?
Well, certainly we're interested in providing value for shareholders, though I don't usually comment directly on our stock price. That is really dictated more by the ups and downs of the market. What we really try to do is, and strive to do, is to build long-term shareholder value. We're very excited about being able to grow hemp here in the U.S. We definitely think that's going to be a great benefit for the company to have everything more locally grown and controlled. Presently, at the moment, we do grow hemp overseas, and we've contracted with several farmers over there to be able to do that. So we have, of course, our nutraceutical products at the moment. We believe that some clinical research and further development will allow us to be able to actually make certain statements and claims about potential therapeutic value. I think that is something that's really going to make a significant impact in the overall value of our company, as well as when we get a little bit further along some of this pharmaceutical development, and we move from early stage to mid stage to late stage biotech development. I think when we get a little closer to actually having potentially approved products on the market that will be treated as medication, I think that is something that's also going to provide some long-term value. So I'm very optimistic about the future. I know the short term has been a little rocky. A lot of maybe a year and a half ago, many of the marijuana stocks were very much in favor by investors. Presently, many are now more out of favor than in favor. But I believe the pendulum is going to swing back the other way fairly soon, and I know 2016 is going to be a great year. A lot of potential legalizations on the ballots in many states and the rest. So I think we'll start to see a little bit of different market activity than what we've had over the past 12 months here in the U.S.
Yeah, Stuart, and as I was getting the questions as they were coming in, I went to Yahoo Finance and looked at some of your financials. And I mean, as far as cannabis companies is concerned, I don't know too many cannabis companies doing, publicly traded cannabis companies, doing what you guys are doing in revenue, your balance sheet. I haven't seen any cannabis companies with that type of balance sheet. You have, significant cash on hand. I can't believe the stock, I don't think the stock is actually reflecting these numbers, in my personal opinion. And again, I know you can't comment on that, but yeah, I think it's undervalued myself.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your diligence and your research. Certainly, I just have to believe that in the future, we've been kind of a leader in the space here. I've actually been involved with the company since it first became public in March of 2009. It's been a little rocky. Of course, all the cannabis stocks and all are kind of waiting for a better situation with the federal banking situation, and then of course legalization, so that they can actually move forward and bring in more institutional investor capital and the rest. But I still like to believe with diversified portfolios such as what we're showing, I think there's some interesting opportunities for investors to really take a look at MJNA.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons for the depressed stock prices is not a lot of institutional investors in the space, and without that buying, it's really hard to get the stock price up. But like you said, I think that'll change in the next year. Next question: what do you see as the next major catalyst for MJNA?
Well, I think there are a few things. I believe earlier I mentioned some of the research that we're doing and we're getting involved with. That got a lot of value. I think there are many other cannabinoids that are they're really the science of this cannabinoid science is very much in its infancy. I think there are a tremendous number of potential benefits for interaction between various cannabinoids. So that's another area we're very excited about. We also think that the future of pharmaceutical development, again, is very much at an early stage. So we think this is fabulous. And then, of course, the number of industrial uses that I think in the future you'll see the company with hemp building construction materials, hemp concrete, hemp board, etc., possibly getting into the biofuel business and the like. So I think there are a number of things out there that we really, the next few years, you'll see a much different face of the company rather than just the nutraceutical products that we've been able to bring forth, and definitely excited about the future.
Next question: how is the Midway Labs joint venture advancing? When can we expect an update?
We've had a number of kind of fits and starts a little bit. At the moment, we're still trying to work out a better situation and come up with a few products. I'm hoping to have something by the end of the year on that, but it's just one of those situations that seemed like a very good idea initially to bring this forth, and there have just been a few logistical problems in getting that whole situation together. But again, we're optimistic about the future for sure.
All right. Well, that concludes our Q&A. Stuart, any last comments on Medical Marijuana Incorporated?
We trade on the over-the-counter market. Our symbol is MJNA, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to make a nice presentation today, and can't thank you enough for the time, and hopefully some investors may want to take a look at our company and see what some of the future value may hold.
Well, thank you, Stuart. We really appreciate Medical Marijuana Incorporated presenting, and hopefully in another 3 months you guys can come back and give us an update. Thanks a lot, Stuart, and thank you, Medical Marijuana Incorporated.